All right. So, man, it's already the end of July. Tomorrow's August. It's crazy. So, what is it? Got like 4 hours left in the month to hit Success Club. But this is Success Club as of, I think, as of yesterday. So, these are the coaches that have helped 5 people so far this month with getting started with their challenge group and their challenge pack. So, Success Club 10, we got Tobias Stewart, Teresa Neitlinger, Stephanie Pike, Shayna Wykovich, Martha Stewart, Marie Sardelli, Kenzie Chase, Lindsay Schiff, Leah Hall, Lauren Valancourt, Jensen Sohn, Ellie Anderson, Ellen DeDion, Craig Benner, Brooke Reed, Andrea Wallace, Amy Reelman, Ali Pendich, and Ali Shrivener. And then Success Club 12 with 6 people so far this month. We got myself, Melissa Weber, Marissa Mendoza, John Houston, Bailey Adams, and Anastasia Redding. And then with 7 people at Success Club 14, we got Michelle Humrick, Megan Jones, Mackenzie Provenzano, Kelsey Moore, Jennifer Oganowski, Emily Kabaka, Danielle Hills. Come on, Danielle, you got to update that last name. Christina Tropiano. I think she actually did officially, but maybe not in the Beachbody world. Then we got Brianna Harvey. And then at Success Club 18 with 9 people so far this month, we got Maddie Fenton, Leanna Viscardono, Caitlin Walsh, Casey Bachlet, Allison Laurent. At Success Club 20, we got Lauren Letary, Kylie Winay, Carrie Steelman-Schmidt, Andrea Slifka. At Success Club 22 with 11 people, we got Anne-Marie Vickers. At 24, Michaela Bardulkis and Cassie Schmelzinger. At 26, Stephanie Estridge. At 32, Bailey Glanzer. At 36, Sydney Thompson and Lindsay Redding. At Success Club 52 with 26 people, we got Kate Morgan. And at Success Club 60 with 30 people, we got Ashley Feld-Dyson. And then as far as team volume, so the coaches that are building the most team volume, we have in the 1,000 club, so over 1,000 team volume points in both legs. We got Joe Policino, Lindsay Redding, Michelle Katz, Carrie Steelman-Schmidt, Brooke Reed, Sydney Thompson, Michaela Bardulkis. My third business center, Gage Eckert, Robert Rodriguez, Sue Sardelli, and Shauna Valenta with over 2,000 volume points in both legs. We got Chris Bachlet, Tyler Smith, Amy Morgan, Wade Kephart, Terry Bachlet, and we got Kate Morgan and Danielle Hills. And then 3,000 in both legs, we got Marie Sardelli, Chuck Wallace, and Amy Reelman. 4,000, we got Kate Morgan, Ashley Feld-Dyson, my second business center, and Michelle Phillips. And then talk about needing to update the last name. And then 10,000 club, we got Andrea Wallace. And then 14,000 club, we got Beth Reelman and myself. Okay, and then last little recognition here, we got the top 20 personal volume from your customer orders for last week. So top 20, we got Tiffany Gush, myself, Brooke Reed, Lauren Letary, Danielle Hills, Andrea Wallace, Kelsey Connor, Priscilla Perry, Michelle Humerick, Samantha Benko, Leah Hall, Terry Bachlet, Caroline Nathan, Carrie Steelman-Schmidt, Amy Reelman, Bailey Glanzer, Lindsay Redding, Kate Morgan, Ashley Feld-Dyson, and Sydney Thompson. All right, so that is the recognition for the week and for the month so far. So I'm going to throw it over to my cousin Chris, who one of his friends is our guest speaker. So a little bit different than normal. We usually have a team Beachbody coach hop on the call and share. But this is going to be pretty cool because we got Scott Ratliff, who's a leadership expert, in my opinion. So I'm going to let Chris take over and introduce Scott here.
Yep. So I get to proudly introduce you to one of my good friends, Scott. And Scott and I met on the playing field when I was playing for At
Uh-oh, I think we lost you.
Oh no, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you said you said your playing field. You were playing for
The Atlanta Blaze, and I got to know Scott a little bit. And he is a national champion in college. He pretty much created a new position in lacrosse with his skills. He's a defenseman that plays like an offensive player, which is unheard of. And in the lacrosse world, Scott is very well known. But the thing that impressed me the most about him was his leadership. He was a guy that always got the guys going and would bring the team in. And would always, instead of the coaches telling you the motivational speech, it was Scott, and pretty amazing. He spoke he's rocking the X10 lacrosse camp shirt, which is our lacrosse camps. And we do leadership talks, and he spoke, and just absolutely blew it away and crushed it. And he's the vice president of Empower House Leadership, which is something that he's doing with his mom. I'll let him talk about what he does. But yeah, definitely a different kind of twist. I know we usually have our Beachbody coaches, but Pat always says, right, in order to have success with this business, you have to be a leader, one, and you have to develop leaders, right? And we're constantly, listening to personal development about becoming a better leader. So really cool. I'll let Scott take it away. Excited to have you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you, Chris. I guess before I dive into anything here, can you guys nod your head that you can hear me and that I'm my connection is sound? I guess the head nod's nice. All right. Awesome. That was great. So you guys are coming in and out, so stop me if that's a problem. My other disclaimer is I have a dog who has been home lonely all day, and he may come jumping up on me asking to play fetch at some point. So if he interrupts, I apologize for that. But like Chris said, obviously I'm not a Beachbody coach. I'm not on this team, but I do know a number of you guys and have gotten to meet a number of you guys through the Bachlet clan, and just some of the most positive, best people that I've come across in my life are in this chat. So it's really cool for me to be here and to get to share some of the things that I'm doing in the leadership development world. And as Chris mentioned, all of you guys obviously are extremely comfortable with workout programs and with fitness and setting goals and going after it, and you're trying to help other people. And so what I'm hoping is I can give you guys a couple strategies or a couple tools that you can apply in your own life and in your own personal development, but on top of that you can bring to the people that you're trying to help and help them on top of their physical fitness, but also with their mental health and with dealing with stress and some of these things. So with that, my game plan here is I'm going to give you a little background on myself and kind of what led me down this road. Chris mentioned my mom. She was the one who started the company in Powerhouse Leadership that I currently work for and has been a big part of my development. So I'll kind of give you guys a little backstory on how that came about. And then I'm going to teach you what we call a personal development workout in a way to basically, build behavioral muscles, build leadership muscles, leadership behaviors throughout your everyday life, the same way that you're building your physical muscles, the same way that we're working out our core, our arms, our endurance. We can work out some of our leadership behaviors in a really similar fashion. So hopefully I can leave you guys with a couple things you can take kind of in that realm. So again, stop me at any time if anybody has questions, anything like that. Would love to interact, and I'll hopefully call on a few of you guys to speak up and help me out towards the end. But to get started, again, I'll start with kind of my backstory. So I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Obviously, I had a mom who worked in kind of this leadership development and human resources space. My father was a college lacrosse player, so that's how I picked up the sport. I was lucky enough to have some success in high school and get to play at Loyola University in Baltimore, Maryland. So I went up there, really new experience, kind of leaving my comfort zone, having been a Southern boy my whole life, but was really lucky at Loyola to have a lot of success in lacrosse. In my junior year, we won the national championship. I was lucky enough to be a captain on that team. Had another great year my senior year, making a run into the NCAA tournament. And I graduated really having no idea what I wanted to do. And through some connections, I got a job in banking, and I moved up to New York City. I spent 2 years doing the finance life and sitting in the cubicle and hammering out spreadsheets. And at the same time, I had been drafted to play professional lacrosse. So I was playing for a team called the Boston Cannons at the time. And I was trying to balance the finance life and the pro lacrosse life. And after about a year and a half, I kind of realized it was wearing on me, and it wasn't really fulfilling, and I wasn't as happy as I wanted to be, and I wasn't really going after the goals that I'd set for myself as a lacrosse player. So I decided to leave New York and leave that kind of field and move back to Atlanta. And my idea was, I'm going to commit to being a professional lacrosse player, and I'm going to start giving back to the sport, and I'll kind of figure out what to do from there. So that led me into coaching naturally on top of playing. And I picked up a job coaching at a high school called Greater Atlanta Christian School here in Atlanta. And I started down that journey. So as I started coaching, I was having a blast, teaching kids lacrosse and getting to connect with different people. But over time, it's, the same thing I kind of ran into in New York. It wasn't completely fulfilling. And, kind of simultaneously while I was figuring this out, my mom was building this business in Powerhouse Leadership. And I knew it was going on, but I hadn't really inquired too much into it. I knew that this was the field she worked in, and certainly throughout my life, she had obviously made a major impact on me and kind of been the person I would go to when I needed advice or even leadership advice. And so she started kind of nudging on me my second year coaching at Greater Atlanta Christian School and said, let me come talk to your team. So I'm doing leadership development, this personal development work. I think I've got some tools that could really help your team. And being young and kind of new into coaching, I was really hesitant. I didn't want to bring my mom in to meet my high school team and give them advice. So I pushed back. I went a whole year. I didn't let her come talk to them. I just told her, hey, maybe next year we'll get back to it. So she kept pressing on me. And a year later, I decided to have her out and let her speak. So she came to our team. She taught them this tool called Rapid Rebound. And I'll get into it. It comes from a system that I'm going to introduce to you guys called the BioCode system. And she spoke for about 10 minutes, and it was about halfway through our season. And I saw the impact that it made on our team and on these kids. And, what she taught them was a personal development tool, a way to overcome adversity. And what I realized in that moment was, as much as I love coaching lacrosse and love the sport of lacrosse, what I'm really passionate about and what really gets me fired up is helping people to grow and to learn and to improve. And so, right around this time, I went back to her and I said, hey, I'm all in on this. This is what I want to do. I want to learn some of these methods. I want to learn this thing, the BioCode system that I've heard you talk about. And I want to see if I can, bring it to the sports world and bring it to these kids that I coach and bring it to my teammates and see what I can do with it. And so that was about 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago now. And after that conversation, I spent 2 years studying under her and her partner, a lady named Dr. Jill Kahn. And I learned this system, the BioCode system, which is the tool that they teach in their business and Powerhouse Leadership. And it's a personal development tool. It's a personal workout that you can use in your day-to-day life to try to build some really strong leadership behaviors. And, my first year and a half, my experience with it was solely just using it on my own life. I had a relationship that I was struggling with that I wasn't necessarily completely happy in. And didn't know how to handle. I had, a lot of pressures and expectations on myself when it came to lacrosse and, big goals that I wanted to achieve and awards that I wanted to win. And, I would deal with a lot of anxiety or put a lot of pressure on myself when I wasn't able to accomplish some of those goals. And so I took this tool and I dove in, on my own personal development, and the results I got from it were incredible. I grew as a person. My relationships all around me improved. My communication skills improved. And in turn, I started having a lot more success in lacrosse and in my career outside of lacrosse and as a coach. And what I really realized throughout that process of learning the tool was, there was nothing that I needed to change about it to apply it to sports. When I first went into learning it, I thought, hey, maybe I can learn this personal development tool that they teach in a corporate space and put my own twist on it, and I'll take it into the sports world. And as I really dove into it, I started to understand that, if you're somebody that has certain weaknesses on a lacrosse field or on an athletic field, whether you're impatient or whether you're judgmental or whatever it is, those same weaknesses are going to show up off the field, and it's vice versa. So what this helped me to do was start to kind of look at myself and identify some of the places that I could learn and grow as a person. And when I was improving, in my home life and my relationships, in my work life, I was also improving, as a teammate and I think as a player on the field. So that was kind of the big aha moment for me. And that was, again, about 2 years ago. And since then, I've really been committed to bringing the BioCode system and teaching this work to other people because again, it made such an impact on me. So don't want to take up too much time, and there is a lot of depth in personal development, but my goal today, with you guys is a couple things. Is one, to maybe change the way you think or look at being in this program in Beachbody. You've all developed this incredible habit of nutrition and of fitness and of working every day, accountability with each other towards, a common goal. And, I want to show you that there's, personal development and behavioral habits are built the exact same way. The same way that you train your muscles, that you work them out every day, that you go through painful exercises to build that strength. It's the same thing in your behaviors. It's the same thing in your stress management. And I'm going to try to give you guys a couple of tools or a couple of ideas to help with that. So a really long-winded kind of intro there, but hopefully that kind of lays out what I'm going to dive into. And again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to dive in or anything to add. So with that being said, the program that we teach is called the biocode system. And the word biocode comes from life code. And the idea behind these biocodes is essentially the biocode system is going to teach us the workouts that we can use in our day-to-day life to improve some of our behavioral habits, some of our communication skills, our ability to deal with stressful situations, our ability to overcome adversity, to deal with some of the negative emotions that we all deal with in day-to-day life. So by definition, the biocode system is a personal development workout that shows us how to use everyday life as a gym to build behavioral muscles. So your everyday life is going to be your gym to build these behavioral muscles. Okay. The weights in this gym are going to be everyday problems, stress, and pain. Right. So if we wake up every morning and we say, okay, I'm living in my personal development gym today. And what are the weights that I'm going to use to build these muscles, to build up my resiliency, to build up my positive behaviors? I'm going to use stress, challenges, and adversity, right? Everyday things that bother you. One of the first things that I learned as I dove into this world is every moment in life is binary. It either feels good or it doesn't feel good. Now, some moments only feel a little bit good, and on some moments only suck a bit. But then there's also other moments that are incredible, and there's moments that are horrific, right? And what we want to use the biocode system for is any moment that doesn't feel good, right? If something feels good, if you're doing something that makes you happy and it feels good physically, it feels good emotionally, keep doing it, right? You don't need any personal development in that moment. If it feels good, if it feels right, you want to continue doing it. Where we want to work is in the moments that don't feel good. Right. And to stay with the gym comparison here, if I go into a weight room tomorrow and I try to squat 600 pounds or 700 pounds, I'm going to pick up that weight and it's going to crush me. Right. But if I go into a weight room every day and I work on squatting and I start with 100 pounds and I build up to 150, I build up to 200, I build up to 250, and I slowly get my way there. And then all of a sudden somebody throws 600 pounds at me, I'm going to be able to handle it. Right. So these bad moments in life, the moments that don't feel good, we've got to practice with the small ones. We have to learn how to pick the little everyday moments that bug us, that bother us, that stress us out, that create anxiety, that create arguments or negative emotions in our relationship, and figure out how to work and grow from those moments. And if we can work those little moments all the time and build up these behaviors and build up this resilience the same way we do with muscles, then when life throws this 600-pound weight, something extremely difficult comes up, something really challenging happens, you're going to have the strength, you're going to have that personal power to deal with it, to handle it, to stay in control and to get through it. So, a lot of time people enter this work based off a huge event, something really bad happens and you're beat up and you're hurt and whatever else, and you try to solve from there. And what I'm hoping to leave you guys with is this idea of, if you constantly work on yourself, if you constantly work on identifying these behaviors, identifying some of your emotional weaknesses, then you're going to build up resilience, and it's going to take a lot more to throw you off. And I think we all know that life's never going to stop challenging us, right? Just when things are going well, something's going to come up that goes wrong. So that's the beauty of it is the gym's always going to be there. The weights are always going to be there. All we got to do is pick them up and lift them and work them. So, the workouts that I'm going to introduce you guys is I'm going to give you two. The biocode system has 5 behavioral workouts. And the idea is to notice what we call your biocoding moments, right? So I've hammered in this idea of we need to recognize the stress and the pain points and the adversity in our everyday life. And, to give you guys an example of that, sitting in traffic, right? Somebody cuts you off and you get overwhelmed with anxiety and you want to nail your horn. Or, something that comes up for me a lot is if I'm going to be late to something, right? I get in my car, I realize I'm going to be 10 minutes late to a meeting. I'm overwhelmed with anxiety. I feel like I'm letting somebody down. Or obviously in an athletic sense for me, refs as a current lacrosse player, a big place for me where I get to practice my biocoding. I get frustrated with calls, or I get frustrated with a teammate, or frustrated with a coach. And when you really break it down, it's not that hard to find, a handful of moments in your day-to-day life that, not going to kill you, but just throw you off a little, that cause you a little anxiety, cause you a little stress, maybe bother you a little bit. So the first step to this process of being able to biocode, of working the system, is recognizing those moments, having an awareness around those moments. We name them, we call them biocoding moments. And we challenge our clients and the people who go through this program to, try to pick out those moments every day, try to write down a few of those moments, because, the beautiful part of personal development and of working from these moments is it doesn't always have to be in the moment, right? Sometimes I can go in a game and I can scream at a ref all game long, and I get home that night and I think back and it was like, wow, I probably was a biocoding moment. I probably didn't need to scream at that ref. Well, how could I have done that differently? What were some of the biocodes that I could have applied there? What were some of the behaviors that I could have done differently there that would have helped? And even though, I screamed at the ref all game and maybe it wasn't my best moment, revisiting it later in my day, I'm still going to build these behavioral muscles. I'm still going to learn from that experience. And then next time when I see another ref who's making more bad calls, I'm going to be stronger and I'm going to be more prepared to handle it. And I'm going to hopefully have better behaviors when I get that next opportunity. So we have an awareness scale around biocoding moments. You can recognize them before, you can recognize them during, or you can recognize them after, right? And an example of before, I'm taking a trip to Europe here at the end of August, and I'm going to ask my dad to watch my dog for about a month. So I gave my mom a heads up, can you guys watch the dog? And I knew that dad would be the one that might get a little frustrated with having to watch him for a month. So I'd held off, and I'm heading home about a week ago, and I know that I'm going to ask my dad, hey, do you mind taking Leo for a month so I can, have this experience and get to travel a little bit? And going into it, I know that it might be a little bit of a tense conversation. So in my thought process, I say, okay, this is going to be a biocoding moment. I know this is going to be maybe a challenging conversation, maybe one that's a little emotionally elevated or one that has a little anxiety involved. So before I enter that moment, I'll take that awareness to say, okay, maybe what are some of the behaviors that I can really focus on going into this that I can apply? And when I do that, that's a workout. I'm building these behavioral muscles. I'm building my awareness muscles. I'm going to improve as a leader because of that, right? Then you could do it during. I get there. I'm in the conversation with my dad. Hey, Dad, do you mind watching Leo for a month while I travel and do some writing and teach him lacrosse? Well, what do you mean watch Leo for a month? I had all these plans, and all of a sudden it starts to turn into an argument, and I've got that awareness swinging in my head. This is a biocoding moment, right? I'm in it. I see him getting frustrated. I feel my own anxiety bubbling up, and I say, okay, pause for a second. What can I focus on? What are some of the best behaviors I can use right now? Again, that's a workout. In that, having that awareness, going through that thought process in that moment is going to build up some of my emotional muscles, going to build up some of my behavioral muscles. And then the most important one, in my opinion, is the after, right? Most of the time when we get pulled into challenging situations or challenging conversations, we get pulled into the storm, we get into an argument, we say what we're going to say, or we do what we're going to do. And then later we look back and we say, like maybe there was something I could have done differently there. Right. And what I'm here to tell you is that's just as good. Life is never going to stop throwing challenging situations at you. It's never going to stop throwing challenging moments, challenging conversations, challenging people. So you're not going to get it right all the time. And that's okay. But if I can revisit it on the back end and I can say, okay, I recognize now that conversation with my dad was probably a pretty good biocoding moment. It was one of these moments where maybe I needed to pause and really focus on, what I'm doing, what I'm saying. Well, how would I have done it differently? Right. And now I'm revisiting it. I'm going through that self-reflection. I'm thinking about how I've done it differently. And that's a workout. I'm building those muscles. Every time I go through that thought process, I'm gaining stronger leadership behaviors. I'm gaining stronger behavioral muscles. Next time I enter into that conversation, I'm going to be more prepared to handle it. Most likely, I'm going to be able to avoid confrontation, be able to communicate better, and do some of those things. So with that being said, and having that explanation of here's what a biocoding moment is, here's what that thought process is of pausing and trying to work through it. I'd love to hear if anybody, and obviously I'd love to lean on my leaders here with Chris and with Pat, but, thinking through your day, even to, is there something that you guys could think of that you might feel comfortable qualifying as a biocoding moment here?
We hear no a lot. Like when we're talking to people about joining one of our challenge groups and purchasing a challenge pack, a lot of times they'll be talking to us and then all of a sudden they kind of fall off and we don't hear from them. Or we see that they saw our message and they didn't respond, or they have an excuse that's holding them back that we'd like to help them get through, but it's frustrating to us that they're letting an excuse keep them from taking that next step in their own fitness journey. So hearing no a lot it can definitely be frustrating at times.
There's also an intimidation factor as well of being afraid to reach out to someone because of what they're going to think. And there's anxiety with, asking them to be a part of what we're doing.
Feeling the rejection, just kind of like you felt the rejection that your dad might say no about watching your dog. Like, we're afraid to ask people to join us on the journey with us because we're afraid they might say no. So we hesitate to ask them.
Awesome. Well, that is really such a perfect example. And I know with what you guys do, that's something that comes up every day, right? I mean, if you're hustling and doing it right, then, every day you're reaching out to people and you're searching for it. And that rejection is probably something that you need to deal with all the time. And, the reason I use the example of my dad and my dog is because it's such a minuscule problem. And that's the whole point here is it's not about, oh, I'm in this, terrible situation, or I'm so nervous about this thing. Now I need something to help me. The way that you build these muscles is you start to just search for the little things, right? The little things that bug you, even though it's not going to kill you, ruin your day when somebody says no, just that little irritants is an opportunity for you to learn about yourself and for you to grow. So hearing a couple of those, I think that'll really help me to apply a couple of these biocode workouts that I'm going to give to you guys now. So I mentioned, the biocode system, right? And it's a weightlifting program. It's a training system, and the gym is your everyday life, right? Everywhere you go, every person you interact with, every experience you have, that's your gym, right? And the weights, the things that you're going to use to exercise, stress, pain, anxiety, anything that doesn't feel good on that binary scale, I'm going to use as my weights. I'm going to grab a hold of this weight, I'm going to lift it, and I'm going to learn, figure out how I can grow stronger from it. Now the workouts, what we're going to do with these weights, these are the biocodes. And again, I mentioned I have 5, and if anybody is interested in continuing to learn more, I'd please encourage you to reach out, and I'm going to teach you guys just briefly about 2 of them. So the first biocode is biocode 1, and we call it the insider code. Right? And the insider code workout is very simple. It's focus on your conduct only, right? So when you're in a biocoding moment, when you're in a challenging situation, with the insider code, what biocode 1 is going to tell me is to focus on my conduct only, right? And the way that I'm going to go about doing that is a 2-step process. It couldn't be more simple. Step 1, I'm going to recognize that I'm in a challenging situation, and I'm going to identify where my focus is, right? We think about some of these things that I brought up. I'm in a challenging argument. I'm focused on maybe my father's negative words, or I'm in a game and I'm upset at the ref. My focus is on the ref. Or I'm in traffic. Somebody just cut me off. I'm going to be 10 minutes late. Where's my focus? It's on the traffic. It's on the event that I'm going to be late to. It's on something outside of myself. So what biocode 1 is going to remind me to do, that flashing light's going to go off in your head to say, this is a weight of life. You need to pick it up and work it out. You need to focus on your conduct only. And I love that word conduct because I think it encompasses a couple of different things. I think, conduct to me is the things that you can always control, right? So, what you say, what you're going to do next, right? What does your body language say? Obviously coming from a sports background, I think body language is such an important one. When you're coaching people and you're faced with some adversity, a lot of times you can say everything by saying nothing, by just showing what your body language is saying. And what biocode 1, the workout from biocode 1 is, okay, I've noticed that my focus is over here on this problem. I need to bring my focus back to myself. I need to pick up my shoulders. I need to stand up straight. I need to smile. I need to not honk back at this person, right? It's just taking that pause and saying, let's focus on everything I can control and doing those things right. And when you take your thoughts off of what's bothering you and onto what you can control, all of a sudden what's bothering you seems to go away a lot of the times. And what I like to think of it is every time I'm grabbing my thought from whatever that circumstance is, and I'm pulling it back to myself, that's a curl. I'm lifting that weight. I'm lifting that self-awareness weight. I'm identifying the biocode moment, and I'm focusing on the things that I can control, right? And it's not going to make your problems go away. It's not going to get me out of traffic, but it's going to allow me to deal with it. It's going to allow me to not stress myself out for the whole 20-minute drive just because one person cut me off, right? And if we can kind of have less stress in our day, then we're going to be able to function at a higher level. So again, really simple. Biocode 1, the insider code, is focus on your conduct only, right? When faced with a challenging situation, when faced with an anxious or stressful moment, identify where your focus is, return that focus back to yourself, to your conduct, to the things you can control. More times you can do that throughout your day, more weights you're lifting, you'll notice over time, all of a sudden somebody cutting you off is not going to bother you anymore, right? You've built up that emotional resilience to that act, and it's no big deal. So really simple. Biocode 1, again, the insider code. The second workout that I'd love to teach you guys, and truthfully, and they're all powerful, but one of my absolute favorite workouts to do is what we call Biocode 2, which is called the workout code. Okay. And what Biocode 2 is all about is it's about identifying our weaker emotional muscles and building up our positive emotional muscles. So the way that we go through the workout code through Biocode 2 is just like Biocode 1, first and foremost, we have to identify that biocoding moment, right? And I talked about before, sometimes you can identify that moment before it happens. Sometimes it's an in the moment thing where I know I'm in the moment and I'm going to practice right now. And sometimes it's, hey, it's the end of my night. Maybe I'm going through my journal, or maybe I'm sitting down reflecting on my day, and I'm kind of replaying the event in my head, and I'm applying, this workout and this biocode. So it fits into any of these categories. But when I identify that biocoding moment, I'm going to label how I feel with a one-word emotion, right? So I'm going to pick a one-word emotion to describe how I feel, right? And so if it's a biocoding moment, we talked about that's something that doesn't feel good, then I know that emotion is going to be, it could be fear, it could be doubt, it could be confidence, guilt, worry, insecurity, right? There's so many different negative emotions that we all deal with on a very regular basis. So if I can identify this biocoding moment and I can say, okay, one word emotion to describe how I feel, right? Let's talk about that situation. I'm going into this conversation with my dad. Maybe I feel a little bit of insecurity, right? Maybe I'm a little nervous, all right? So I decide to say that, I feel insecure. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to pick the opposite of that emotion, and we're going to literally speak to ourselves, practice the opposite, right? So if I said I feel insecure going into this conversation and I'm in that car, I'm going to sit there and say to myself, practice security, practice security, practice security. And every time I repeat that phrase, just like I talked about before, I'm doing a curl, right? I'm pumping those thoughts into my emotions, and that's going to create stronger emotional muscles. I'm going to be more secure just by doing that workout, right? And the magic of Biocode 2 is, when you start to recognize your biocoding moments and you get into these situations, over and over again, you're going to find that it's the same negative emotion that you keep going back to, right? And, I know for myself, impatience is one that I deal with a lot. I'm feeling impatient. I want it now, or overwhelmed, right? I'm trying to take on a number of different tasks and I just feel overwhelmed, and I need to practice calmness, or I need to practice patience. And when you start to recognize where your kind of primary emotional weaknesses are, then it really helps you to be more self-aware. It helps you to enter into situations more strongly and have better behaviors. So the way that we teach this Biocode 2 and the idea of these emotions is, if we could start education all over again. When we're kids and we feel a certain way, I feel a little bit fearful about reaching out to somebody and asking them to join this program. Why ever teach the word fear? All fear is a lack of confidence, right? Or a lack of trust, or whatever, lack of safety, whatever that word is that resonates with you. So instead of saying, maybe I'm a little fearful, why not just say I'm lacking trust? I'm lacking confidence right now. Practice confidence, pump confidence, because really we've given a negative word and a positive word to the same emotion. So instead of labeling it with a negative emotion, I'm going to just try to switch it and constantly pump that positive emotion. I'm going to recognize that maybe I'm a little bit low on that positive emotion. I'm going to put a lot of focus there, and I'll be able to build up that emotion inside of me. So again, I've made a chart for myself where I'll write down 6 or 7 of the negative emotions that I feel like I deal with on a regular basis. And I have it sitting here of fear, doubt, overwhelm, judgment, guilt, worry, insecurity, frustration, expectation, right? All things that, in maybe my first couple weeks learning this, I wrote down as some of the negative emotions that come up in my day. Well, then let's go through the opposite, right? For fear, I wrote safety. For doubt, I wrote confidence. For overwhelm, I wrote calm. For judgment, I wrote acceptance. For guilt, I wrote innocence. For worry, trust. Insecurity, security. Frustration, patience. And expectation, observation. And so now I've given this, positive emotion to every negative emotion that I'm dealing with. And when those emotions bubble up, I'm going to put my focus. I'm going to use BioGo 2. I'm going to identify the negative emotion that I'm feeling, and I'm going to practice the positive emotion. And I do that enough times, I start to fill those positive emotions up, and it takes more and more, in my day, in my life, to make me feel the negative emotions. So without throwing too much at you, I know I've been talking for like 30 minutes straight here. I wanted to make sure, again, that I was able to get through that and try to give you guys some tools or some tips that you could take away. I know I went through it really quick, so I'd encourage, anybody, please do reach out via social media. Obviously, the Bocklets, I know Taylor's in here. There's plenty of people in here that do know me as well. So get my number. I mean, I love talking about this. I'm obviously passionate about personal development and would be happy to share more with you or follow up with any questions or anything like that. And so, my hope is that what I can leave you with is, think about personal development the same way you're thinking about your fitness training. Go through your day, start looking for the things that bug you, start looking for the things that bother you, and, try BioCode 1, try BioCode 2. See if you can do a workout, if you can focus on your conduct, or if you can build up some of those positive emotions, and hopefully you guys see some good results from that. So again, thank you for allowing me on here, and I got Craig, Jessica, Victoria, Cammie, and Chris on my main strip, and the head nods and the smiles were greatly appreciated. So thank you guys for that, and hopefully I can come do this again with you sometime.
Sweet. Thank you, Scott. That was awesome, man. That was so different than what we typically have, and so freaking cool, because I think we say one of our vital behaviors every day is to listen to personal development, but now we get to live it and practice it, which is pretty cool. Did I break up there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. So that's definitely something kind of unique and fun. But you impress me every day, Scotty boy. I'm very impressed, man. Great call.
Thank you, buddy. Hey, I got one more thing. I got one more thing for you guys. So, I every personal development book there is, every speaker podcast, I'm all over that stuff, and it's incredible. But I think what's different about treating personal development the way that I'm talking about it compared to maybe when you're reading the book or when you're watching the speeches, and I've got a little prop here. 1 second. Right. So when we read the book or we see the speech and we get all this inspiration, that's great, right? And we like to say it's like a balloon. I don't have a balloon, but you blow up a balloon with all this inspiration, but then one really, really challenging situation comes along and boom, pop, right? Balloon explodes and everything goes to shit, right? Where when you practice personal development all the time, when you're constantly assessing your behaviors, your emotions, and all these things, rather than blowing up a balloon, right here, baby, it's a ball of yarn. Right? You're rolling the ball of yarn. You build up that nice, strong ball of yarn. And then when some adversity comes, nothing happens. You're rock solid. So that's kind of the difference. And I encourage people to read the books and listen to the podcast and do all that, because inspiration is great. But at the end of the day, you got to build lasting behaviors to really be great at dealing with adversity.
Love that. Yarn. Hey, Scott,
I got the ball of yarn. I had to use it for something.
Scott, you can click at the top right. There's a little thing that says speaker view or gallery view on the top right of the video, and you'll be able to see kind of the Brady Bunch.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, there they are. What's up? What's up, everybody?
Hey, Scott, with the so the things you identify the insecurity or whatever the word is, the negative word, and then you kind of switch it. So if it's fear, then you switch it. Instead of saying oh, I'm fearful of being judged, or I'm fearful of failing, you switch it and you say I just lack confidence right now. And then you practice that, you repeat that. Can you maybe just go a little bit more in depth on kind of what you would do as far as that strengthening that muscle, that practice? Is that something where you just kind of, before you go into the situation, you're kind of repeating that to yourself instead of saying, I'm fearful of this. It's more of, I'm just lacking confidence right now. And then you just say, how do you kind of get past that? I'm lacking confidence.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the first thing that I think is important about it is it's not a perfect science. And, with personal development work, anytime you try it, you like pat yourself on the back, right? Because you can't do it wrong. There's no such thing as doing this wrong. So sometimes we feel people get caught up in like, what is the right word? If I'm feeling fearful, what's the perfect word? There's no perfect word. It's just whatever feels right to you in that moment, whatever you think you need in that moment, that's what you should go to. And, the truth is Pat, I think BioCode 2 is so powerful because you can do it in the moment, right? When I'm playing lacrosse and I'm faced with a really tough situation in a game, or I'm starting to feel doubt about the result of the game, there's 2 minutes in between a goal and a face-off. I can stand there and say, practice confidence, practice trust 500 times, right? And the more times you do it, the better you're going to feel about it. And, when you go into the gym, right, and you do a workout, yeah, you normally feel in the workout a little bit better, but you're not just going to all of a sudden, you're not a Olympic athlete just because you went in and did one workout, right? And so just because I stood here and I said, practice confidence 10 times, I'm not all of a sudden going to be the most confident person in the world. I will find a little more confidence in that moment. But what I'm really doing is I'm starting a long-term process. And after a year of practicing confidence, every time that I felt fear, now all of a sudden I'm a confident person. So again, it's about, I just saw, I think Taylor commented the compound effect, but that is the key with it. You're not going to just magically feel your stress disappear in these moments, although it will help to manage it. If you commit to it long-term, the same way that you commit to a fitness program, to a diet program long-term, you are going to see the results. You are going to feel the results. And it's not just going to be you. It's going to be other people coming up to you saying, wow, something's changed about you. Did you get a haircut? What did you do? And no, man, I'm just more confident now.
When you're saying that word, are you thinking of a time when you do have tons of confidence? Are you just saying the word over and again to like relate to that feeling? Are you like thinking of a time, or kind of what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, I think that I think a little bit of both, right? I think it's situation to situation. So depending on maybe what it is that has me feeling fearful, I'm just trying to flip the story in my head. With BioCode 2, we talk a lot about the story in our head. So when you're faced with a challenging situation, or you're faced with something that brings up anxiety, the first thing we like to do, our first instinct, is to start telling ourselves the story about all the bad that's going to come because of this situation, right? And again, it's easy for me to dive into sports, and I've talked about refs, and he makes a bad call. So now I'm telling myself, well, because of that call, they're going to score, and we're going to be losing, and we're going to lose the game, and I'm not going to make the playoffs. Or I get in my car and I realize I'm going to be late. Oh, I got in my car late. Now I'm going to hit traffic. Oh, then, my partner's going to be so mad at me, and then I'm not going to finish my project. And we get into these stories in our head about all the bad things that are going to result from this one circumstance we're facing. And so what BioCode 2 allows us to do is stop that story, right? Stop predicting the future. You have no clue what's going to happen, in 10 minutes, much less in a week or 2 weeks or whatever it is that we're trying to predict. So the point of it is really to stop that story, right? To kind of bring your focus back to the here and now, and to pump in that emotion that you need to get through this moment. Because if you can be your strongest self getting through this moment, you're going to be able to deal with whatever you have to deal with in the next moment, in the moment after that. Okay. So, whether that's thinking back to a time or thinking back to a situation that pumps confidence into me, that's great. My personal experience with it is really just stop, right? Stop thinking about all the bad that's going on here. Stop thinking about the unfair circumstances that I'm surrounded with, and just start practicing trust, practice trust, and just bring my focus solely to that word, solely to that emotion. I may only have a limited time that I'm going to be able to do it. So I'm going to try to fill that time laser focused on building this positive emotion. And then I'm going to go on and I'll face the next moment. And hopefully that moment's not a biocoding moment. And if it is, I'll be ready.
And let's see, does anyone have any questions for Scott before we kind of wrap this thing up? All right.
Scott, what's your Instagram if people wanted to follow you over there?
I am at Scott Ratliff 2. That's Ratliff. It's the last name. Please do follow me. Would love to chat. Big likes guy.
Big likes guy. It's a big likes guy, that guy.
I throw them around.
Well, thank you, Scott, man. This was awesome. And thank you for relating it to fitness in the Beachbody world, like the curl, doing the curl, taking that focus and putting it on yourself. Like, that's awesome, man. So if anyone who's doing the Lift 4 program today knows all about that curl situation, no joke. But thanks again, man. Thanks for hopping on. And I'll definitely, if anyone wants to connect with Scott, reach out to me, reach out to Pat, to Casey, to Taylor. We all can connect you to Scott. And we do a little thing on our call at the end of all of our calls. We kind of say thank you with a big, well, I guess we'll show you on 3. Pat, can you unmute? All right. We always the cross field. All right, Team Boom, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Nice job, Scott. Thank you, man.
Love it.
Nice job, Scott.
Thank
That was awesome, Scott. Thanks, man.
Should be.